Buenas tardes. Good to see everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you for being part of something that is absolutely historical for this country right now. Not just our campaign, but the fact that so many of us are coming together at this defining moment of truth for this country. At the moment that it counts for the most, we will stand up and we will be counted. And we're here, and I'm grateful for that. There are good friends here in the room. There are family members. Richard, Amy's brother, is here. There are folks who were with us every step of the way in the Texas Senate race. To each of you, I want to say thank you for the extraordinary kindness and generosity and the love that you have shared with me, with Amy, with our team, and helping do something absolutely transformational in the state of Texas. I cannot thank you enough. I want you to know that this last weekend on the trail, I was joined by Amy for the first time in the 8 weeks that we have been campaigning. And it made it absolutely wonderful because she in person could see what I had been describing to her, the people that I have been meeting along the way, the kind of questions that we're hearing, and maybe even most importantly, the people who are willing to stand up and take ownership at this moment. Whether running for elected office, supporting another candidate, just coming to a town hall and asking somebody who asked to be in a position of public trust, a very challenging, a very difficult question. We were at a house party in Hooksett and talking to a high school student who goes to high school in Derry. I believe it's the largest high school in the state of New Hampshire. We were talking about gun violence, and we were all just saying how moved we were by the story of Kendrick Castillo, a high school student just outside of Denver. When a gunman walked in to his classroom, he ran towards the gunfire and not away from it. And we were talking about Riley Howell in Charlotte at UNC, did very much the same thing. And she said, there's a good chance that they had already thought about doing that before an active shooter came to their classroom. So many of us, she said, I included, just feel that this is inevitable. It's going to happen in my school. It's going to happen to me someday. She said, in fact, in our school in Derry, we have weekly active shooter drills. We know which bookcases we're going to pull down in our classroom. And it reminds me of Henry, our 8-year-old, coming home from school last year from first grade. We asked him what he had done, and he talks about his teacher huddling Henry and his classmates into a closet to get ready for what she thinks will be inevitable, and teaches them how to resist the temptation to open the door to someone who's demanding to be let in. And that school teacher in Texas, chances are, is working a second or a third job already. We have one of the lowest levels of teacher pay in the country, although we're not totally exceptional in that sense. A lot of teachers in a lot of parts of the United States are struggling. On average, in Texas, she pulls out $1,000 from her own wallet, though she doesn't have enough to make ends meet at home with just that one job, to pay for classroom decorations, school supplies for the kid who forgot them, but also for that child who's on free and reduced breakfast and lunch and doesn't have a warm meal waiting for her at the end of the day. That teacher buys that meal. Or the kid who shows up in the same set of jeans and t-shirt Monday through Thursday, by Friday, out of her own pocket, has bought that kid a new set of clothes because she understands that his ability to reach his potential is connected to his dignity and his sense of self-worth, that she is absolutely going to be there for him. Laboring under these high-stakes, high-pressure, standardized tests that in no way effectively measure her performance in a classroom or that kid's potential who sits in front of her, we now ask her, we ask those students, like the young woman that we met in Derry and Hooksett, to envision making an even greater sacrifice. We lose more than 30,000 of our fellow Americans every year to gun violence. There's almost no other country on the face of the planet that comes anywhere close. And so we can accept that that is our fate, that's our lot in life. Perhaps we are inherently violent or evil or bad, or this is a human-caused problem with a human solution. And that young student who Amy and I had a chance to listen to was talking about universal background checks, was talking about ending the sale of assault weapons and weapons of war into our communities so they don't end up in our schools, in our synagogues, in our churches. Red flag laws so that you can stop those who are a danger to themselves or to somebody in their lives or someone in your life before it is too late and before they act. Totally makes common sense to me, and it does to most Americans. The only thing lacking is the political will to connect those solutions to her and the rest of the American public. Felt much the same when we were in Iowa the week before. We were in a town called Pacific Junction, which is right next to the Missouri River. In all the history of Pacific Junction, it's never in any meaningful way flooded. But in a year that you saw 4 times the runoff into the Missouri River basin, in fact, the greatest level of runoff since we've been keeping records on the Missouri River, that town not only flooded, but every single home was completely underwater. Everything within those homes that the owners had purchased or cherished over the course of their lives lost to them forever. And of course, we know that floods like that in Missouri, or as we were touring those homes, the Mississippi was cresting in Davenport. The greatest flood levels in that community, busting the record set in 1993, since we've been keeping records of the Mississippi River. Houston, Texas, 2017, saw 58 inches of rain fall from the sky in a single storm, which is a landfall record for all of time for North America, at least as long as we've been recording it. When we talk to somebody in Coos, New Hampshire, about how hard it is for too many to be able to get medical care, to see a provider or afford their prescriptions, or see a psychiatrist or psychologist, or take their child to a therapist, this woman slides across the table that we're sitting at a receipt for her prescription medication. She says, "This adds up to $10,000 a year from me. And that's just my end of the bargain. That's my copay. But I can't afford it, and so I'm supposed to take 3 pills a day. I take 1, I take 2. I'm rationing my care to see if I can make it and make ends meet in our home, and for my kids, and for my family, and for our future." We're meeting people who are working 2 and 3 jobs, because working full-time at one job is not enough to pay the rent or to put food on the table or set something aside for their kids. All of these gigantic challenges for this country. The solutions here among us, in those people that we're meeting, the only thing lacking is the ability to come together as a country. We're the wealthiest, the most powerful place on the planet. A country that has tried to perfect the most ingenious mechanism to call forth human potential and genius and ingenuity and innovation, this democracy. But it happens at a time that we understand that our institutions have been captured, that those with the means can pay for not just access, not just influence, but outcomes in our elections and in our laws. We understand that far too many go uncounted in this great country. Texas, prior to 2018, ranked 50th in voter turnout. Not because we love democracy less than you do here in New York, but because we were drawn that way. Based on your race or your ethnicity or your country of national origin, you might be drawn out of a congressional district to diminish the power of your vote or the likelihood that we would hear your voice. So at this time of maximum peril, whether you look at climate or healthcare or our economy or gun violence, we're as divided as we've ever been, as polarized as I can remember America being, and our democracy at this moment is faltering. My hope is that my experience, the way that I've lived my life, where I'm from originally, my opportunity to join with others in public service can be part of the answer that this country is looking for. Beginning from where I was born, in El Paso, Texas, which was Ciudad Juarez forms the largest binational community in the hemisphere. That's all right, Given family. You can give it for El Paso. I know they're El Pasoans here. A quarter of those with whom we live in El Paso were born in another country, chose us, left behind their comfort, their customs sometimes, their language, their families, their country, to start again as strangers in strange lands, do better for themselves and for their kids, but certainly to contribute to our shared success and our greatness. And they have. We've learned in El Paso not just to tolerate or to respect our differences, but to embrace them. And it is foundational to our success, to our strength, and also our safety and our security. El Paso is one of the safest cities in the United States of America. And it has been for the last 20 years running. And that is not despite the fact that we are a city of immigrants. It is because we are a city of immigrants. It is there that following my Uncle Bruce's lead, I started a technology business, creating high-wage, high-value, high-skilled jobs in one of the poorest urban counties in the United States of America. A place awash in talent that just needed a way and means to express itself. And we were able to do that working together, building an extraordinary team. Serving on the El Paso City Council, not as a Democrat or as a Republican, but in a nonpartisan position just as an El Pasoan. Delivering for our constituents, balancing the budget every single one of 6 years, but also unafraid to take on the tough fights. Ensuring that we passed an ordinance that extended health care benefits in 2009 to the same-sex partners of city employees, despite the recall elections and the political repercussion that followed. Ran a race against the incumbent and against the odds in 2012 for the United States Congress. Knocked on 16,000 doors myself, and had friends and family and volunteers who knocked on tens of thousands more. And once in that position of public trust, though I was in the minority every single day for the 6 years that I served, we found a way to deliver for our constituents. When in a meeting like this one, we understood that those veterans coming back with an other than honorable discharge were unable to go to the VA. They were disqualified because of their status. We wrote a bill to address that. But that bill, as well written as it was going nowhere unless we could find Republican colleagues and a Republican majority to help us get it passed. And so we compromised, we found consensus, we were able to pass that with 435 votes in the House. A version of that passed the Senate, and though I agree with him on almost nothing, we were able to find a common ground with Donald J. Trump to sign that into law, to improve outcomes and opportunity, and to save lives in the process. Protecting public lands, investing in our connections with Mexico to make us more secure, and to facilitate trade and travel connected to economic growth and jobs. We got that done by working with anyone, anytime, anywhere to advance this country's agenda. And then thanks to many of you who are here, and not just your donations, but your willingness to come down to Texas and knock on doors, or to phone bank from New York. We got to be part of an historic, absolutely transformational campaign in the state of Texas. Yeah. We visited every single one of the 254 counties of Texas. It didn't matter how reliably blue, we weren't going to take you for granted. We showed up to listen to you, to answer your questions. It didn't matter how rural or red, we were not going to write you off or assume anything. We were going to show up for you as well. Going to the reddest places, not in Texas, but in the United States of America. King County, which voted for Donald Trump 96% in the last election. But I hope you agree every bit is deserving of being heard, of being listened to, of being represented, of being served. And I had no hope of delivering for the people of King County unless we first showed up to listen to the people of King County. Going to Archer County, when as we're walking into Burns Cafe for a town hall meeting there, the 12 folks who would come out to see us, you could count to 20 if you included the 8 innocents who were having breakfast when they learned a lot by showing up, but before I could get in the door, a gentleman stopped me, and out of a manila envelope, he pulled out a black and white photo of his dad talking to then Congressman Lyndon Baines Johnson, who had dropped out of the sky in a helicopter, landed on the courthouse grounds, walked over to the American Legion Hall, and began to listen to and learn from those whose votes he sought. And this guy told me, my dad, who's in this picture, he lived in Archer City, in Archer County, his entire life. I have done the same, and you were the first Senate candidate from either party to show up since he did. It had been 70 years. And that kind of campaign, where we showed up to listen and to learn, but we also showed up with the courage of our convictions, talking about universal health care, freeing the dreamers from any fear of deportation by making them U.S. citizens now in their true home country. Gun violence and the way to meet it in a proud gun-owning state. Talking about reproductive rights as a part of universal health care in a state that is struggling in a maternal mortality crisis that is 3 times as deadly for women of color. Explaining that it's not enough to make sure that we have legal, safe access to an abortion, but the cervical cancer screenings, the family planning help, the ability to see a provider that is denied when we close down so many of our reproductive care clinics in Texas is costing the lives of our fellow Texans in this state. That campaign, showing up everywhere for everyone, bringing everyone into the conversation and the solutions to our challenges, allowed us to win more votes than any Democrat has ever won in the history of the state of Texas. To win independence for the first time in decades. To expand the number of Democrats who were registering and voting and canvassing and phone making and participating in their democracy, defying the barriers that have been put in place that made us 50th in the country in voter turnout, led by young people who increased their voter participation by 500% from the last midterm election. And then 500,000 Republicans who voted for Greg Abbott, one of the most conservative, Trump-friendly governors in the country, on that same ballot voted for us. And at the end of the day, though we came up a little bit short, 2.6% to be precise, we got to be part of something that will make Texas better forever. We can already see the results. 2 new members of Congress, both Democrats, elected into seats long held by Republicans, helping to flip the House of Representatives, changing the composition of our state legislature, the institution that's responsible for that racist and ethnic-based redistricting that we have in Texas right now. 17 African-American women elected to judicial positions in Harris County, literally changing the face of criminal justice in our largest community, in the most diverse city in the United States of America. We got to be part of and help lead a movement, not just of Democrats, but of Democrats and independents and Republicans as well. All of us Americans first before we are anything else. And I'm confident, I'm convinced that not only for us to secure the nomination, and not only to defeat Donald Trump in November of 2020, but to bring this country together around these historic challenges of January 2021, we need to continue to campaign this way and bring everyone into the solutions to these challenges: universal, guaranteed, high-quality health care, making sure that we have an inclusive capitalism that allows people to work just one job and has enough because they're paid a living wage, because they can take time off to take care of themselves or their kids or their parents, because women are paid equal to what men are paid in the workplace for the first time, because we have ratified the Equal Rights Amendment finally after all of that. When we talk about security on our border, in our communities, we're talking about legalizing people who are here working the toughest jobs, folks who just want to be able to be with their families and do things for this country that on our own we would not be able to do for ourselves through comprehensive immigration reform. And climate, the greatest challenge of them all. The consequences of our action or inaction felt disproportionately by the generations who will follow us right now. Linking those floods that we saw along the Mississippi and the Missouri and in Houston, Texas, the fires, the aftermath of which we witnessed in the Central Valley in California, these floods, these droughts, these disasters becoming exponentially worse, as bad as they are right now, for the generations that follow, unless we take action at this moment. A challenge like that cannot be met by half measures or half steps or only half the country. It's going to have to be each and every single one of us. So we campaign not just to be your nominee, not just to defeat the current president, but to bring this country together to do the great things that we were born and intended to do. Thank you for hundreds of thousands of your fellow Americans who over the last 8 weeks have already contributed or have signed up to volunteer. We aim to do nothing less than form the largest grassroots campaign this country has ever seen, and we are eternally grateful to you for being a part of it. Thank you all so much.